I was just 16 when it happened. A teenager with a love for art and big dreams, I spent most of my free time sketching, painting, and trying to bring the pictures in my mind to life. Art wasn't just a hobby for me. It was how I expressed myself when words didn't feel like enough. One day, I heard about a local art competition happening at a popular gallery in our town. The theme was Dreams of Tomorrow, and I couldn't have been more excited. I poured my heart into a piece that I'd been working on for weeks. A vibrant painting of a young girl sitting under a massive tree, looking up at the stars, with the constellations forming shapes of hope and wonder. But before I could submit it, I realized I needed supplies to give it that final touch. A special kind of glaze for the stars to make them shimmer in the light. So I headed to the art supply store downtown. It wasn't just any store. It was the store for artists in our area. The moment I walked in, I could feel the stares. It wasn't the first time. I was used to people underestimating me because of how I looked, young, black, wearing my old paint-stained hoodie. But I brushed it off and headed to the aisle where I knew the glaze would be. I picked it up and walked to the counter, my heart racing a little. This glaze was expensive, but I'd saved up for it. Skipping snacks at school and doing extra chores at home, I placed it on the counter, ready to pay. The cashier, a middle-aged woman with glasses perched on her nose, looked me up and down. Then she said something that stopped me cold. "Are you sure you can afford this?" Her tone wasn't kind or curious, it was sharp, accusing. I felt my face heat up. "Yes, I can," I said quietly, pulling out my wallet. But she didn't stop there. "We don't allow returns on opened items, so think carefully before you buy. Some people buy things they don't really need and try to bring them back when they can't pay rent." Her words stung, each one landing like a slap. I wanted to say something, to defend myself, but the lump in my throat wouldn't let me. Instead, I handed her the money. She hesitated, her eyes narrowing, as if she thought I might be handing her fake bills. Finally, she rang up the glaze and dropped it into a bag without a word. As I walked out of the store, I felt a mix of anger and sadness. Why did she assume I couldn't afford it? Why did she think I didn't belong there? I didn't know it then, but that moment was just the beginning of a story I'd never forget. When I got home, I tried to shake off what had happened at the store. I didn't want it to ruin the joy I felt about finishing my painting, so I spread out my supplies, took a deep breath, and let myself get lost in the process. Hours passed as I carefully added the glaze to the stars. Each tiny brushstroke felt like a rebellion against the doubt that cashier had tried to plant in me. By the time I finished, my painting shimmered like I'd imagined it would. It felt magical, alive, like it was telling its own story. I took a picture of it and posted it on my art account. I didn't have many followers, just a handful of friends and a few strangers who'd stumbled across my work. I wrote a simple caption, "Dreams of tomorrow, finished this today, hope you like it." The next day, something unexpected happened. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Notifications poured in, likes, comments, shares. At first, I thought there was some kind of glitch, but when I checked my account, I saw that my post had gone viral. People were commenting things like, "This is incredible, the detail in the stars is breathtaking. I need a print of this, how can I buy one? Whoever made this has a gift, keep creating." I couldn't believe it, I'd never seen anything like this before. My follower count shot up by the hundreds, then thousands. Even a few well-known artists commented, saying how much they admired my work. For the first time, I felt like the world was seeing me. Really seeing me. But then, something else happened. Someone recognized the painting and shared a story of their own. They wrote, "This artist deserves all this love and more. I was in that art supply store yesterday and saw how the cashier treated her. She didn't deserve any of that. So glad her talent is being recognized." More comments poured in after that. People shared their own stories of being doubted, overlooked, or treated unfairly. A few people even called out the store, tagging them and demanding an explanation. I didn't know how to feel. On one hand, I was overwhelmed by the support and love I was getting. On the other hand, I was still reeling from the experience at the store. It was strange to see it all play out online, with people I'd never met standing up for me. Then, a few days later, I got a message I wasn't expecting. The message came from the store's official account. "Dear artist, We recently became aware of a situation involving one of our employees that caused you distress. We want to sincerely apologize for the experience you had in our store. Your talent is extraordinary, and we deeply regret the actions of our staff that day. We would like to invite you back so we can make this right. I stared at the message for a long time. It felt hollow, like they were only apologizing because the situation had gone public. I showed it to my mom, who had always been my biggest supporter. "What do you think?" I asked her. She sighed, shaking her head. "It's up to you, but don't let them put a band-aid on something they should fix for everyone. This isn't just about you." Her words stuck with me. It wasn't just about me. I thought about all the times I'd walked into stores or spaces where I felt out of place, judged, or invisible. This wasn't the first time I'd been treated unfairly, and I knew it wouldn't be the last. I decided to respond. I wrote back, "Thank you for the apology. What happened to me isn't unique, it's something many people face. If you're serious about making this right, I'd love to see your store commit to treating all customers with respect, regardless of how they look or who they are. Actions speak louder than words." I didn't expect much to come from it, but to my surprise they replied quickly. "Thank you for sharing your thoughts. We're implementing new training for our employees to ensure all customers are treated with respect and dignity. We'd also love to support your art by hosting a showcase for you in our store." A showcase. The idea sounded surreal. Part of me wanted to reject it outright, thinking about the humiliation I'd felt in that same store. But then, I thought about the little girl in my painting, looking up at the stars. She wouldn't let fear hold her back. I agreed, on one condition: the showcase would also feature young, local artists who didn't usually get opportunities like this. The weeks leading up to the showcase were a whirlwind. The store kept their promise, setting up a special display area and reaching out to other young artists in the community. Word spread quickly, and soon I was receiving messages from teenagers and even younger kids who wanted to be part of it. I met incredible artists, some shy, some bold, all brimming with creativity. There was Malik, a 15-year-old who made sculptures from recycled materials, and Serena, who painted vibrant murals inspired by her neighborhood. Every artist had a story, and together, we created something beautiful. The day of the showcase, I walked into the store with my mom by my side. It felt different this time. Instead of stares or judgment, I was greeted with smiles and encouragement. The space was filled with our artwork, and people from all over town had come to see it. My painting, Dreams of Tomorrow, hung in the center of the display. Seeing it there, surrounded by the work of other talented young artists, filled me with pride. It wasn't just my moment, it was ours. During the event, the store's manager approached me. He looked nervous but sincere. "I just want to thank you," he said. "Not just for accepting our apology, but for turning this into something bigger. You've inspired us to do better." I nodded, unsure of what to say. I didn't need his gratitude. What mattered to me was the feeling in the room, a space where everyone felt seen and valued. As the day went on, I heard snippets of conversations that warmed my heart. Parents talked about how proud they were of their kids. Strangers admired the talent on display. And more than a few people told me they'd been following my journey online and couldn't wait to see what I'd create next. By the end of the day, my painting had been sold to a local art collector who wanted to feature it in their gallery. But even more meaningful than that were the connections I'd made and the way the showcase had brought people together. That night, as I lay in bed, I thought about how everything had started, with a hurtful moment that I could have let define me. Instead, I'd chosen to let it fuel me. The cashier's words still echoed in my mind sometimes, but they no longer stung. Instead, they reminded me of how far I'd come, and how far I was determined to go. Because sometimes the most unexpected moments can spark something extraordinary. And when you refuse to let others dim your light, you shine even brighter. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey and being part of this story. If this touched your heart or made you think, I'd love for you to support this channel by giving it a like, leaving a comment to share your thoughts, and hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future stories. And if you know someone who needs a little inspiration or would enjoy this tale, please share it with them. It means the world to me. Together, we can spread these stories far and wide. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.